What problems are troubling you? What's frustrating you, bothering you, worrying you? Want solutions? Want answers? Welcome to Here We Come to Save the Day, hosted by David Adelson. This podcast is dedicated to solving everyday and global problems in an uplifting, fun, enjoyable way. There is a solution to whatever's troubling you. Ask your questions, and we'll do our best to give you practical, useful, workable solutions you can use starting today. Join us now with David's special guest experts who will share their own experiences, life lessons, and practical strategies for creating the life you long for. Start living your best life today, right now, with David Adelson and friends.
Hi, welcome to another fun episode of Here We Come to Save the Day. Sometimes I feel like we should say Here We Come to Save Your Day. Today I'm here with Mira Beck. He's got an amazing story that you're going to want to hear. And one of the things, or the thing we're going to talk about today, is how most people are an expert in some area and may or may not recognize it, but you can take that knowledge that you have about something that you do very well, and we're going to give some examples, and we're going to tell you how you can turn that into profit. So that's what today's podcast is about. I'm David Adelson, and Here We Come to Save the Day is sponsored by Peace and Harmony Company, peaceandharmonyco.com. And we are the first company in the world where you can actually buy a peace generator that operates, that's from the quantum and unified fields, that literally generates peace in your home, in your business, for your neighborhood, for your community. And these are now affordable. And at this time in the world, we can't imagine anyone who wouldn't want more peace. And this is the first time you can actually go out and buy a device specifically to generate peace in your area. And it's a laptop computer that we've turned into a broadcast tower that goes for 10,000 people to 30,000 people and more, or 10 square miles to 30 square miles. And again, we can make personal at your request, we can create a system of any size. Go to peaceandharmonyco.com. You can see some videos, testimonials, and there's a link where you can try a sample for yourself. So we encourage you to have peace in your life. Everyone says they want it. Now you can have it. No more excuses. So let's do it, people. Okay, so peaceandharmonyco.com. So, Mira, welcome. I haven't seen you in a long time. The last time I saw you was just before COVID hit. And Mira is, I'm going to let him talk a lot about himself. But welcome.
Thanks, David. I appreciate you having me here. And yeah, last time I saw you was beginning of March or end of February at one of the events we did, and little did we know what's going to happen a couple of weeks later.
Yeah, it was iffy at the time. I remember that we were all like, is this the last one? And I hear you got one more in after that. Okay, Mira is originally from the Czech Republic, and he came to the U.S. in 1997 for a 6-month work opportunity and realized pretty quickly that it was just a big scam. So he decided to stay and make the most out of this opportunity to be in this country. He was left with $200 in his pockets and only a few words of English, and he invested $140 in a bus ticket to Tampa. And now I know you have a very successful business, actually 2 of them. You've been here 24 years now. What happened in between, Mira?
Oh, a lot of things happened in between, and yeah, thanks for abbreviating my story over there in that introduction. And the reason I picked Florida and Tampa is because it was during Thanksgiving time, and I figured if I'm going to sleep under a tree, it might as well be a palm tree and not something up north. So that's how I ended up down here. But a lot happened. So, you know, when I came over, it was for a job opportunity. It did turn out to be a big scam, even though it looked very legit on the outside. And at that time, I needed to bring $3,000 with me to be able to pay for a work permit. And my dad had to sell his car. Like, just to put it in perspective, I was making $2,000 a year as a manager at McDonald's in Prague. And I needed $3,000 cash to bring. So the only valuable thing we had in our family was my dad's car that he just got and had to literally sell it overnight. Like somebody offered him 30% less than what the car was worth, and he had to do it to get me the money. And then you know,
Wow.
24 hours later, I'm in New York right around Thanksgiving, and no money. I had $200 extra just in case. And as you said, I invested, quote unquote, instead of spend $140 into a bus ticket, ended up in Tampa. And instead of $6,000 or $7,000 or $8,000 a month that the job opportunity was promising, I was making $550 an hour washing dishes and starting my American dream at one of the hotels on the beach, working 18 hours a day, which basically at $550 an hour, I had to work about 18 hours to make $100. So
Wow.
it was definitely a crazy start. Now looking back, 24 years later, I don't know if I would do it again, but when I was young, restless, and had no fear. I mean, it was no problem to just burn the bridge and not go back home, because at that time, can you imagine if I went back and spent all these days saying goodbye to all my friends and partying and going for 6 months, and I show up in 48 hours? I mean, they would make fun of me till today, probably calling me the American, because I spent 48 hours in United States before I gave up.
So you got to Tampa, you got off the bus. I mean, what are the details? What do? I assume you bought a little bit of food, so you probably you have $50 at this point.
That's right.
And you're sleeping outside. You're not even looking at a hotel, or what?
Well, I got lucky because I didn't end up sleeping outside. That was the plan. But I did end up going to a hotel, asking for if somebody that speaks Czech actually works there, and find a group of people that were from Czech, and they connected me with their point of contact company that was providing all this labor for all these hotels, and ended up basically within a week, I had a job. And during those few days, I just crashed at their place. So it was really good. I mean, I definitely got, fortunate that I met somebody from Czech, because I didn't speak English at the time yet. And after working the job for a few months, I decided to go to school, because I figured if I'm going to leave in 6 months on my visa, I at least would like to learn the language so I can get a better job back in Prague. And, I ended up getting a student visa, staying for a couple of years, getting my degree, or not really degree, but going to school for a couple of years. And then ended up actually meeting my wife, or now ex-wife anyways, but got married and was married for 13 years. So, at that time, I decided to basically stay. Again, I was young. I had no reason to go back, and the opportunities here felt really, really great. So I decided to go to school, eventually finish my degree. And that's why I stopped myself when I said I finished my degree, because it took 7 years for me to finish my 2-year degree, because every single time I was supposed to graduate, I switched my major 7 times, but every single time I was supposed to take public speaking course, I changed my major to something else so I can continue to do classes without having to do a public speaking class. And then finally, when I was on the 7th degree, which was a video production degree, and I loved it, I really wanted to end the schooling and go into the real world, I took the class that was offered for the first time virtually online, and thinking that I'm going to cut corners and, put little cheat notes next to my web camera, things like that. And it ended up being even harder, because we had to go to Toastmasters for a couple of talks. We had to find our own audience and videotape a talk and then send it to the teacher. So if I just took the class 5 years prior to that and got it over with, I would have definitely been done with it much sooner. And I'm still waiting for my honorary degree from that school, because I literally have exactly 120 credit hours that turned into a 60-hour degree, associate degree. So yeah, it's funny. And now I'm speaking, I do all this now, but just thinking back how public speaking is such a big challenge for most people. How they always talk about, will be either in the casket and giving the eulogy. It's kind of the ongoing joke. I was one of them.
Wait, no, I don't know that joke. What?
Oh, you don't? They say that most people would literally rather be in the casket than standing up and giving the eulogy.
Oh, wow.
Because they are so afraid of public speaking, So it's kind of funny where I ended up, speaking from the stage and teaching and running masterminds and doing all these other things. that I ended up doing, going back where I couldn't even speak to more than one person at a time without getting all red and stuttery. And, but yeah, if anybody's listening and they have a problem with public speaking, which most people probably do, strongly encourage you to get over it and start talking. And that's the only way I got over it, is by doing it.
So I have a question, because what you ended up doing was that which was the end of your 7 years. That was when you finally found the thing that captured your what I want to do thing. So who knows where you'd be if you had done public speaking before that.
You are absolutely correct. No regrets. I even every year on Thanksgiving, I write and repost the same post for the last 15 years probably. And I still have a lot of people reading it and getting inspired by it, because, and at the end of that post, I always thank those bastards that stole all the money from me, because if they didn't do it, I wouldn't have not been where I am. I wouldn't have my 2 beautiful kids and my businesses and just the self-development and all these people I've met. Like, all that goes back to that one point, that if something has happened differently in that moment, nothing else basically would have been the same. So I'm totally aware of that. And I definitely have the appreciation even for the not so great things that happened in life, because in retrospect, typically everything happened for a reason. You just sometimes don't see it when it's happening. And it's really hard to sometimes understand why things that are painful and not really pleasant are happening. But then looking back, typically hindsight 2020, you see why it happened. And if that thing didn't happen, you wouldn't be, at the place you're at. So
yeah, and
I believe it.
Yeah, I believe it too, Mira. And one of the things that I think is that the Creator, whatever we want to call Divine Mother, God, whatever term different people use, Allah, there's a lot of different terms, but I personally believe that the Creator is on your side and wants you to do well. And that sometimes when things seem to be a setback, I have, my own stories that are come up in different episodes. I won't go into right now, of where things have looked like it was the absolute, I was at the cliff and about to fall off, and turns out that something way bigger than what I had been looking for came through a few days later. So I totally want to encourage people that when things seem like, how do we want to say this? That to trust that things are working out, to trust that God has your back, your front, your sides, that you're in a tank, and that it's all going to work out fine, even regardless of current appearances. Now, I want to talk a little bit, because I want to give people, we've talked briefly about your history, but you're quite successful. I met you because you do the AV work for some very successful and very influential people, I guess, in the self-development field. And a lot of them seem to use you. So I'd like to actually, let's put that on your resume right now. I met you at a Christian Michelson event, which was the Thought Leaders Business Summit, which had a whole bunch of people who were all, I think the criteria to even be in that group of people was you had to have a successful enough business that you were making 7 figures. So, and there were like 40 people at the event, and I know you do work with a lot of those people. Can you give us an idea of some of how you got in with with these kinds of people, and who were some of your bigger clients, just so people know that you're worth listening to? So
absolutely, yeah. I hope this is not just a waste of time for everybody. I'm enjoying it, but we'll see. So it's funny because it all started with the first event, and I've done over 500 events, and
wow.
I can pinpoint that one event that started it all. And talking about things that happens for a reason. Back in the day when I finished my school in 2004 now, so that's 16 years ago. It was in December 3rd when the first event happened. And the client basically went to a hotel and asked for a referral for a videographer. And the hotel gave them by accident, or divine accident, or whatever you want to call it, a referral to a photography studio that my ex-brother-in-law used to work at. So when he answered the phone, he said they don't do video, but he gave that event planner my phone number.
Wow.
I got a call from that event planner, and I was working at a help desks before. I mean, I was making maybe 12, 15 an hour tops at normal jobs before I started my own company. And then when I started my own company, I was like, I'm going to double my prices. So I'm going to charge $25 an hour. It's going to be so cool. And then she called me and, how much to come and record a seminar. And I've never done a seminar. I was doing some weddings and other things before. And I'm like, well, I charge $25 an hour. And she's like, they're not going to hire you for that. And I'm like, okay, how much do I need to charge? Well, you need to charge at least 50. I'm like, okay. So it was instant doubling, quadrupling really my original hourly rate. And they hired me for the massive $500 for the day. And I showed up. And back in the day, I mean, I'm sure you remember those days where you had the video cameras with little mini DV tapes that only recorded for 1 hour. So I'm like in the back of the room doing a 3-day event with multiple speakers, telling everyone when they see this cardboard sign with number 5 on it, that means I got 5 minutes left on the tape. They need to stop their presentation, take a question or tell a joke, and then I'm going to give them thumbs up when I'm recording again. So That's how, I mean, if I had to do it today, I would rather die. But I didn't know any better. So I had no fear approaching some big time speakers and telling them this silly thing about stopping. Some did, some just blew me off, and it just, they didn't care. But that was my first event. That's when I got exposed to marketing and sales. And I was basically sitting in the back of the room recording it. But somehow a lot of the things that were said from the stage were hitting. And I was listening to something and immediately translating it. How would that apply to my videography business? So that's why I got really excited about it. And then a year goes by, the same guy hires me.
But I want to say that's fabulous to get yourself in a position. And I know this is your big business now, is you get to record people who are experts in their field. So you're gaining all this huge amount of knowledge. I want to bring this out because you have a program now, and this is what we want to talk about, and we'll get into more particulars in a few minutes. But you now have a program about taking what people know and telling them how and helping them. And I know you have some free thing about it that we'll talk about. So let's talk about that now, so people will want to stick around and hear how they can apply exactly what you did for you, which was you learned stuff and then applied it to yourself. So, so what is it that, let's talk a little bit about the fact that people know more than they know, and that most people, if they were put to it, are an expert. Can we talk about that for a second?
Yes, we can. It's my favorite topic. So, yes, I personally believe that most people are already experts in their field. Whatever they do, there is a chance, if they've been doing it for a while, or they read books on the subject, or they educated themselves in any way, that they already know more than probably 99% of the population. So I think the bigger problem is kind of, between the ears, like they always say, that people don't sometimes feel like they're good enough yet, or that they don't know enough to call themselves an expert. So I think that's, I think it's really a mindset conversation more than actually knowing, the topic.
Yeah, I think there's something, people, what is it? The imitator syndrome, where it's just, I can't remember the term. There's a term that people have where they feel like they're not authentic. They don't feel like they've earned whatever. They don't feel like
imposter syndrome or something.
Yes, that's it. Yeah. Imposter syndrome. That people feel like, they look at these people who are up there and the big names. So we talked about names before. So who are the biggest name people that you've recorded at this point?
Yeah, so going back to close the loop on that seminar thing, one of the speakers talked about Dan Kennedy, that you probably know well, and Dan Kennedy style marketing and direct response marketing. So that's kind of the crowd that I started, getting involved in. And the very first thing I did, I actually joined a mastermind, because I found a mastermind with Dan Kennedy that had a ton of potential clients. And that would be a good point for people to take away, like, go hang out where your potential clients are hanging out. because that group had over 70 people, and I would have, I don't know, at least 10 people every year that would hire me to do events for them. And that's where it started growing. So I've done events with Bill Glazer and Dan Kennedy. I've done events with Russell Brunson, Speak in Empire. It was Dave Van Hoos and Dustin Matthews. And then it was back before the first recession. It was a lot of real estate and how to marketing, sales, and that type of seminar arena. And then after the recession, I met, I think Christian Michelson was probably my first client that is from the energy healing and coaching space.
Right.
And after him, I got 3 or 4 more that it's kind of got most of my business now to be in this space. So, Steve Olsher with his podcasting and New Media Summit, Christian Michelson with his 4, 5, 6 events sometimes a year. And I've done events, where they had some big time speakers, but they were not my clients. They just spoke at the event as a hired gun celebrity type thing. So, like I said before, probably over 500 of these, and work with probably at least 1,000 speakers in that time.
Wow. Okay. So, and then we have this. So when you say to someone, you're an expert in your field, you're probably not aware that you're an expert. But if you think about it, one of the things that and what I want to do here, Mira, is help people realize that this is something worth pursuing. We know a lot of people right now, because of the world situation, are, struggling, or they're trying to find ways for new income to come in. And by the way, we have affiliate marketing on the Peace and Harmony systems, the Peacemaker systems. So you can go to the website and check that out. That can be very rewarding, with commissions of $1,000 to $3,000 that just to generate peace. You'd be a real hero bringing peace to your friends and family, and you could make some money. So check that out at peaceandharmonyco.com as well. But what I want to help people realize is, that when you're an expert, one of the things that you can do is tell somebody what you know. You don't have to actually tell somebody, but make a little video, write a little outline, just explain what you do, whatever it is that you do. And I want to remind people that there are people on YouTube who get tens of thousands, if not millions of hits, showing you how to break an egg, showing you how to jump on your skateboard, showing you how to do all of these different things, and that can be monetized. So there's something that you do that's unique, that's different. You do it in a way that's different than other people. You do it in a way that somebody starting out doesn't know, and that's all you need. One of the things that some people have said is you don't need to know all the answers. You just need to be 2 lessons or 2 months ahead of whoever you're teaching. And I want to, again, my point here, Mira, is for the people who are listening, who are looking for something, think what you do unique, better, different, that you've done every day. Maybe it's a different way to explain tying your shoes to a kid. Maybe it's how to put together a swing set for your kids. Maybe it's, baking, cooking, ironing. I mean, it could be anything. And certainly in the field of business, there are tremendous things. There are people who are making, a lot of money showing people how to do something that, whatever you are to our audience, there is something that if you think about it, that people don't know, and there can be a way to market that, even if it's just an entertaining YouTube video, that if you can get it to go viral, you can get, money from YouTube on that.
For sure. Yeah, and there's, I should probably mention also that in our studio, besides the AV work, we've created over 100 courses for 100 different clients in all sorts of areas of expertise. So I've seen this happen over and over and over, where people literally come in and within a day, they have their knowledge turned into multimedia and ready to start monetizing it. So a couple of things that I've noticed that I can share with you is, number one, everybody has some sort of expertise. So let's just, if nothing else, if you don't get anything else from this episode, I would say just make yourself the expert, believe you're the expert. And if you and I need to sprinkle some magic dust on them, that's fine. We can do that too. But, I just want you to believe in yourself, like you are the expert. And then start thinking about, and this is going to be the easiest way for you to figure out your content and, how you could even deliver your content to potential clients. Imagine you sitting at a table with one of your friends or somebody that comes to you that wants you to share your expertise with them and just teach them everything you know on that topic. And you are sitting at a table, having a conversation with somebody, going through step 1, step 2, step 3. How would you, implement what you're doing? And if you just turn on the camera and pretend that you are in the same scenario, looking through the lens, imagining one person that you're teaching your gift to, that's your course right there. It's as simple as that. You can do it on your webcam at home. You can go as crazy as going to a production studio, but taking knowledge and turning it into profit right now is very, very simple and an inexpensive process. And I would strongly encourage everyone that feels like they always wanted to write a book or start a podcast or create a course to really sit down and just outline the steps that you would need to take to teach somebody else what you already know. And that will be your outline for the course. It could be your outline for a book. It could be a list of topics for a podcast, because you can repurpose a lot of this and over multiple media, and then get started like that. And then if you need to deal with technical stuff, how to record it and all the technical things, then again, there's a million YouTube videos, tutorials. There's I'm putting on a summit where I'm going to invite a ton of people from all the different areas of expertise to teach on these different topics. So that would be one thing that we can invite people to. But don't overthink it. Don't make it complicated. I can tell you, I had a client named Frank, and this will probably hit home with a lot of people that are listening. Frank was thinking about doing his course for 5 years. 5 years. It was in his head. He was dreaming about it, thinking about it, trying to get it done. And there was always some sort of roadblock that he was hitting. And then he finally showed up. We locked the
roadblock. I'm sorry. When you're saying that, all I can think of is that's the public speaking course. That's it's his public speaking course keeps coming up, or something that comes up that stops it from happening. So I'm sorry. Continue.
Yeah, and then so he came here, finally decided to get it done, and we got him into the studio, locked the door, and 8 hours later, Frank is watching himself on the TV when we were showing him the recordings, and tears are coming down his face because it was just emotionally overwhelming for him to see how he's been dealing with this for 5 years. And now it's all recorded, it's done, and he can start, profiting from his knowledge. But more than profiting, like all these people that I've met in my career that have this knowledge and this gift inside of them and have the good intention to get it out, typically the main reason is because they want to help other people. And that's what this information marketing business is all about, is taking your knowledge, packaging it up, and presenting it to potential people or people that this could potentially help change their lives. And you can't change thousands of people's lives by doing one-on-one conversations. So if you really want to change the world, help the masses, and have that type of mission, I think it's critical to actually finally decide and intentionally focus on turning your knowledge and digitizing it, turning it into a course or a book or whatever. And then, the profits will come, because the profit will be a direct result of the value that your courses and your books and your materials will provide to the world. So if you change 10,000 people's lives, you're probably going to make a ton of money, way more than if you change 5 people's lives in one-on-one conversations. So that's kind of, what I would recommend is everybody start thinking about what they have and how they can present it.
That's wonderful. I really appreciate your explaining it that way. I have a couple thoughts, which is, if your area of expertise is spinning straw into gold, you could have just 5 clients that do really well. But But one of the things that I that's a joke, obviously, unless you can do that. But one of the things that, I talk about a lot of people doing simple things, but there's a lot of people who had executive level responsibilities and everything in between, who worked in the store, who worked in, bagging groceries is one level, but there's also the management level. There's at every level. So I remember I had one job that was formatting. Just somebody else wrote the text for a manual, user manual for a very expensive piece of software that was sold to businesses. This was back in the 80s. And at that time, it was a $15,000 package that got sold to businesses. So we had to have a very well-documented thing. So I went through and I put the whole thing together over the course of several months. And when I was done, they said, now you need to write a manual for if you leave and somebody needs to do anything, you need to do this. So, I did. I wrote this big, long manual, and that's it. I mean, I left it with the company, but that kind of thing, if you're training your replacement, if you're training whatever it is that you did, that whether you're a CEO or whether you're middle management or whether you ran the mailroom or a grocery store or whatever, there's something that that all you have to do is get it out. And I love your story about Frank getting there and recording it. And I love what you say, Mira, about having people just, envision sitting with a friend and explaining it and recording it. And I want to make it very simple for people. Don't worry about getting it right the first time. Maybe you're talking for 15 minutes and then, as happens even in interviews like this, I suddenly remember, oh yeah, I should have said this earlier. We should have said this later. Don't worry about the order of things. That's what editing is about. That can be done with video editing. There are people that you can get for very inexpensive, or there's good systems that you can look at. Mira has contacts, so you can connect to him. But it's okay if it takes you 5-10 times to get it the way you want it. But just begin, just start putting things down. Some people like to sit down and write notes or have an outline. Some people like to write out the whole big thing. I just have whatever works for you. If there's a one-word clue to give you an idea, start recording it, listen to it, fix it, edit, change the, find the better words, have family members or friends pay attention to it. But do it. There's something that you can do that can help other people, and what you are presenting will tell you who your audience is.
Absolutely. And I can share with you a very abbreviated version of a process that I almost stumble across during this COVID that could help pretty much everybody to get this stuff done. And back before COVID happened, I was in the studio with my business partner, Lisa. We were recording our course for the Knowledge to Profit, basically teaching people how to create their own courses. And then we spent one day, and then this whole thing started happening. And I was like, you know what, why don't we stop recording the course right now and teach it live? So we put together a masterclass, and we were teaching the content live over 3 weeks. We did it again a month later, and now we're actually going to the studio basically this weekend, as of the time of the recording of this episode, to record it. But I can tell you one thing: every single client that ever came to us before, when they're done recording, they say, if I had to do it again, I would do a much better job. And so what I really stumbled across is this whole concept of teaching a live masterclass as a prep for actually recording your course. So
yes.
Set up your outline, set a date, get the Zoom account, something super cheap so you can deliver, or Facebook Live, whatever you want to do for the medium. Start inviting people. If you have one person that shows up, 10, 100 people, it doesn't matter how many people show up, because essentially this is just the healthy, selfish way for you to practice your content. That's all it is.
Yes.
So we delivered it. The first time our slides were rough. We finished them, 5 minutes before going live. The second time, we made the slides much better looking, and we updated some of the content. There's some questions people were asking because we had like a handful of people attending live and doing the work. And so it was a phenomenal feedback, opportunity to get testimonials, and most importantly, it's a perfect way for you to go through the content once or twice before investing the time and possibly money into recording the actual course. And I think that the courses, because I'm a big fan of when you do a course, do a good job. Like back in the day, there were a ton of people just recording this courses that had no value. It was just so they can have something packaged up so they can start selling it. And I really think that, most people that I hang out with would like to do a good job and actually create a great version of your course. So skip the version 1.0 and go straight to version 2.0. Make the 1.0 to be the live class. The 2.0 is going to be the actual recording. And all this can be done within less than a week, like maybe 2 week stops. If you start today, do your outline, go set the date. That's the most important thing, is set the date. If you don't set a date, it's never going to happen. And I'm as big of a procrastinator as anyone else. And I can tell you, if you give me a month, it's going to take me a month. If you give me 2 days, I'll get it done in 2 days. So set a date, a couple of weeks out, start outlining your content, and then start, promoting it on social media, invite a few people just as a test audience if you want to, and then deliver the content live. Just talk into a camera on a Zoom. If you want to do slides, great. If you don't. But do it for yourself. The next round, you're going to do it for the people, for the audiences, to change their lives. But the first round, just, be the healthy selfish, just like on the airplane. Put the mask on first before you start helping everybody else. It's going to go a long way.
I really want to emphasize this idea of setting a date and just getting started. Is I had a friend, and this is again back in the early 80s, he set a date of when he wanted to do this program about parenting. And it was in a town that was, I want to say, about 45 minutes away. He got a space that he was going to get, but he never really got to publicize it. But he didn't want to miss, and this is before the days of handheld cameras and everything, but he was, just to make sure that he felt committed, he drove over there and he did his lecture, his course, to the empty room. Knew that people looking in might think it was foolish, but he felt that really helped solidify. And again, as you say, this idea of the more you do it, the better you're going to get. When we look at, and we watch a lot of comedians these days, who stand-up comics, because it's a good way to feel good during this time. But when we watch a stand-up comic on Prime, Amazon Prime or Netflix or Hulu or whatever, or YouTube, whatever, when we're watching those stand-up ones that are recorded, that's the last one. They've just done a tour of maybe 5 places, 10 places, 100 places, however many. They've done a tour doing all of that material and refining it again and again and again and again. Sometimes they're coming off of a 6-month or a year tour, and that's the last show that they do of that material, and that's the one that's recorded. And in every case, those are the tightest ones. Those are the best ones. Those are the ones where they've worked out all the kinks. They know when to smile, when to kick, when to, wiggle their fanny, whatever it is that they do that's going to get the laugh. They've worked it out that much. So never be afraid to do it and not get it right, because you're going to get it right. And I love what you said, Mira, about this can be done in a week or two, depending on how much material you have. But just get it. And I love what you say, just start recording it. You and I talked before the call that we use QuickTime on our Macs, if that's because that's good, or Zoom or StreamYard, which can put it on Facebook and YouTube and other places all at once, and all these are fairly low cost, and just get it out there.
Absolutely.
Just
you're mentioning the comedians. I don't know. Have you seen the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel?
Yes.
On Amazon. Yeah. So that was if somebody wants to see the process. I talked to one of the stand-up comics buddies of mine, and he said that he's been through it over the last 20, 30 years. And that show really is a great interpretation of what a stand-up comic goes through and all the failures on the small stages, all that stuff. So I highly recommend that show if you want to see how painful it is to get to that special that you were talking about as the last step. But that was a great show if you're looking for something to binge watch.
Yeah, one of the things that I liked in the first season of that is when they go through just what we're talking about, what you want, and as a stand-up comedian, and when you're first starting out, is what's called the tight 10, which means you have 10 minutes of material that's just laugh after laugh after laugh after laugh, and they go through the process with her creating that tight 10, and just what you said, it's how many. No, and you see her, no, this word didn't work, that word didn't work, you cross it out, you work it, you work it, you work it, you work it. And when you watch stand-up comics, and we went to a rehearsal of one in LA once where she was just testing the material to make sure it was going to work. And when they're on stage, they're talking to you like they're your best buddy. And they're just going through this whole thing, but you really start to see when she was doing this final editing before she even did it in a paid performance the first time, there's a lot of attention to details to how it works. And I don't want to scare people off, because we could see her, she would say something, then she'd stop and make some notes and then go on to the next thing. So to get the final version, yeah, it does take some work, but the point is to get started with something, and then get some feedback, and then you can get some, and don't get feedback on YouTube with people who are not who don't have your best interest in heart. Get feedback from people who want you to succeed, who love you, who want to support you, but also people who have a market value vision of what people will pay for. And again, there are so many ways to market this, depending on, are you going to end up with an 8-hour course? Are you going to end up with 3 8-hour courses? Are you going to end up with a 15-minute video? What is it that, where are you in terms of how much knowledge you have? But trust us, there's something, if you search, there's something that you want to pass on to your kids, to your family, to something. If there is that thing, and there's always a possibility that there isn't, but if there is that thing, just start, what you did about getting on the stage with public speaking. Just start recording and get over.
And I think that to draw a parallel so people can connect it to courses, the stand-up comedy routine we're talking about, it's going to come in play big time when they started working on webinars and sales presentations to actually sell the course, because that will be all about testing the offers, testing pricing strategies, telling different stories and all that stuff. In the first phase, when they're actually creating a course, I wouldn't even sweat it that far, because really you just need to be yourself, speak from your heart, share what you know, and don't worry about how long it's going to be, because it's a very common question what you just said, like how much content, how much is too much. And I always tell people, deliver everything you can deliver so the people can get a full help. Don't leave stuff out just because you want to sell them something else later. Just deliver something so people can get a result, positive result. And if that means 2 hours, then it's 2 hours. If you need 8 hours to deliver it, take 8 hours. Just don't put any fluff in it, because the days of the course the value of the course being measured by how many DVDs and CDs are in the box, those days are way gone. People have shorter attention span and they value the speed. And I was just listening earlier today, I was on a webinar and the guy was saying, I wrote a book, 75 pages, and I gave it to a ghostwriter and they turned it into 300 pages. And because they think the 300 page is going to have a higher value, but he's saying, no, the 75 pages, I'm giving people higher value because they don't have to spend extra time to go through the other 230 pages or whatever, 225 pages. So people value keeping things succinct and just short and straight to the point. And the other thing is, don't record hour-long videos. If you're going to record the videos, slice the modules into short lessons and do, 2 to 5 minute short videos versus one long one. That way you can serve it in bite-sized pieces. And when people go through your course, if they need a refresher, they can go back and easily find the little piece they needed instead of trying to scrub through hour-long presentation. So that would be kind of a couple of tidbits that I learned the hard way during my career that hopefully will be helpful.
Yeah, those are both great, because when I was going to start the podcast, which came up at Steve Ulcher's New Media Summit, I asked a whole bunch of people who have, hundreds of podcasts under their belt. I said, well, how long should it be? And they said, well, it's not the length. It's you just, if you're going and the conversation is flowing, don't cut it off, because people get annoyed. They don't want two short parts. They don't want to cut that in half. They want to hear the whole thing go through. And I love what you said about the shorter segments, because, and by the way, people who listen to this podcast know that sometimes we go really long, and sometimes because we get really involved, and we've done healing work on different podcasts, especially the longer ones. So so we've just followed that advice. And for book publishing these days, if you've noticed, a lot of people just do very short chapters, 2-3 pages, and then maybe they'll have a page that just has a highlight of it, or what did you learn or something. They don't do 150 pages at a stretch for just the same reason. People are used to very short, tell me something, and just tell one thing at a time. So we just got a Nintendo for my son, and although I play it, and I went online to do some of the instructions, and all of the instruction videos are under 2 minutes. They just show you, this is this step. And then if you want more, go to the next step, but they just break it up that way. So I completely concur with this thing.
Yeah, and not to be confused with, recording an hour-long episode. Like if you were going to take the episode, then you can find the different topics we covered or different tips that we shared. And that would be what, you can chop up into little lessons. So of course you can record the whole thing as a one big swoop, or you can chop it up into smaller pieces and just record one at a time, which this weekend, we're going to be recording it. We have probably close to 100 videos. They're all short. And, we're probably going to just record one at a time and take a minute between to recompose. So that's one good way to do it. And you mentioned a book. I want to also stress that if you're going to be doing this, you can really get kind of 2 for 1, because if you're going to do an outline for your course, it's basically the same thing as an outline for your book. Each module is a chapter. Each lesson is a subchapter. Like you can literally take the recordings of your videos, have it transcribed, and have somebody edit it so it looks like, in the book format, and you can publish a book at the same time that you publish your course, and then use the book as a lead generation or lead magnet for your course. So give away the book, sell it for a few dollars, free plus shipping, whatever strategy you choose, and then upsell them into the digital course. So I would definitely say, if you're going to go that route, you're going to already take the time to record your course, definitely turn it into a book at the same time.
And there are resources online, again, where you can just look online. How do I find somebody who can do transcription? There are websites that do transcription in less than a day that, for, I think, I don't know, it's under a couple $1 a minute. And
well, you know what, right now, that used to be like rev.com and those companies. I just used aaarrgggghs.
Okay.
And they have a free account for up to a certain amount of minutes or whatever. So you can every week have portion transcribed, or you can pay for a couple months for the service. But it's real time. You talk and it's transcribing it in real time. If you upload a video, it takes like an hour or two, and they spit out the transcription. And it's free on the low level. And I think it's aaarrgggghs.ai is the name. But phenomenal service. And with my accent, the transcription is coming out flawless. So
wow.
It really is that good. I mean, it's obviously artificial intelligence-based transcription. So it's not a human like rev.com. But the quality is phenomenal. So I would strongly recommend, if you're going to do anything, look at Otter, or just research anything else out there. There's definitely plenty of other options.
Yeah. So these are all, I think these are all excellent ideas. And I know so many people who are doing well with this, again, whether it's just building a YouTube channel and a YouTube audience. And, again, depending on what you know and your level of expertise and what you're presenting. But look on YouTube. The expertise. I watched a TED Talk of this one woman, and I can't remember her channel or her name right now, which is too bad. But her whole identity was based on the fact that she would try projects and they wouldn't work. So she would build robots and she would build this, and her whole thing was, I'll try all these things and then we'll see what happens. And occasionally some things work, but she had this very charming attitude about it. And, just had fun with the whole project. One of the episodes that she always wanted to be an astronaut. So they live in a capsule that's only so big. So she realized that her bathroom was that size. So she locked herself in her bathroom for 48 hours and put foam on the floor and did all this to see what it would be like, and recorded that. And that was one episode. And she's got, I think I know it's at least hundreds of thousands, but millions of followers. She gets people to major companies to sponsor her podcast, this episode or that episode. I mean, there's money to be made there, people. So whatever, there's one more thing I want to bring out, which comes in the beginning of this for a lot of people. You mentioned, Mira, that you had trouble with, the public speaking in the beginning, and you had to overcome that. And people may feel like, well, that's too heavy a price to pay. I mean, look, 7 courses, you put it off for a long time. Yeah. So what I want to encourage people to do is just record yourself and just get used to your own voice and stop passing judgment on yourself. When I was first out of school and looking for a job, I had several friends who were in the headhunting business, and they gave me a bunch of advice, and I read a bunch of books and, how to go do good job interviews and stuff. And back then this was cassette recording days. So I made a cassette of me doing a job interview, and I would listen to it as I was about to run out the door and hop on the bus to go to wherever my job interview was. And I just picked it apart. I mean, I was ruthless on myself. It was like, but I didn't do it in a destructive. I would say like, no, say this instead. So that was lively in my awareness. And I took the whole process of finding a job as a job, that I would just get good in interviews. And I got good, and I started getting a lot of job offers for jobs that I didn't particularly want. And I ended up getting one that I did. But I want to encourage people, don't shy away from what you don't say, oh, I don't want to talk it this way, or I don't want to say it that way, or I don't like the sound of my voice and all that. Just get over it. Just play it and listen to it. That what you don't like about yourself, I guarantee you that there are dozens and potentially millions of people who will love that very thing. So just take the knowledge that you have, figure it out, make a date. I want to kind of sum up what we've suggested. So jump in here, Mira. But,
yeah, so before you summarize it, I got a couple things. Number one, the whole 7 majors, when I started my own business, it all came helpful because I did web design, web development, accounting, international business, all those different majors. Little did I know when I started my own business, I'll be able to build my own website. I'll be able to do all this stuff. So no regrets there for sure, but it definitely took 7 years. Then the second thing, when you're speaking, don't make it about you, because most people will think like they're being judged and I'm not speaking well enough and whatever. When you start doing this presentation and teaching your course, first of all, use conversational tone. Don't try to act. I have people that come all the time and the camera starts rolling and they become somebody totally different than the person I just talked to for the last hour in the prep. So just conversational tone, don't act, don't self-edit yourself. Just speak from your heart. And then I did a seminar one time with Tom Zig Ziglar's son. And we had some time to chat for like half an hour. And one of the wisdoms he shared with me from his dad was before he goes on the stage, or before he used to go on the stage, there's one sentence that he told me. And that's, when you're nervous, get in service. And even to this day, every time I'm supposed to speak and I start feeling these jitters in my body and all that stuff, I say this one sentence and the whole thing goes away, because this is what it means. There's going to be somebody in the audience or on the other side of the camera listening to you, that they need to hear what you're going to be talking about at that moment, at that time. And if you can change that one person's life or get their attention, the whole thing was worth it. And no one's going to care about if you have a few pounds overweight or if your shoes are like, nobody cares. Like, literally, don't make it about yourself. Make it about the people that are listening to you. And this whole nervousness and self-judgment is going to fall off of you in an instant. So when you're nervous, get in service. It's been one of the best advices I've ever got in my life, and I use it all the time, and it works really well.
Yeah, I love that one, because I knew somebody who was in a business years ago, and they used to have to do lecturing, and it was a husband and wife couple, and the wife just was so nervous before she went on stage and presented what they were presenting that she would throw up before she'd go in the restroom and throw up before she went on stage. And she did that, like, I want to say 30, 40, 50 times. And then all of a sudden she stopped. And she said what caused her to stop was when she realized it wasn't about her. It was about just what you're saying. It was about that she was giving information and inspiration to people who wanted it, who had driven, in some cases, hours to come and see it. And it wasn't about, again, what her shoes looked like, what her weight was, what her dress was. It was about what she was offering people. And when you come in service and when you look at, someone is looking for, what you're offering. One of the things that I talk to, and a lot of the people that, I coach and work with, is somebody is praying for what you have to offer. So don't be shy. Just stand up there and let yourself be seen. Let these people find you. Let this information flow through you. So,
Absolutely.
and I wonder.
And don't worry about the number of people. Like, I have, people are used to these YouTubers with millions of views and full audiences and everything else. But I mean, I have a story of a friend of mine that spoke to one person. That one person sounded like he slept through the presentation, and then he ended up buying his $8,000 program. Yeah. I mean, it literally doesn't matter how many people there are, and do not think that thousands of people is normal. No, the dozen, the 8, the one person, that's the norm.
Exactly.
So don't be discouraged if you start promoting a webinar or your masterclass and you only get 6 people to show up. It's perfect. Those 6 people are there. They need your help. They took the time to show up, and you should give them everything you got. It doesn't have to be hundreds or thousands. So don't get discouraged by smaller numbers in the beginning.
Right. And especially if it is smaller numbers, those are people that then maybe you can start a coaching program or an advanced or a mastermind or something. There's ways to expand it, but everybody starts off with just a few, Mrs. Maisel just walked up on stage, so it's okay to start with a few. That's everybody did. Everybody did. Every major person that now that whether they're a comedian or whoever it is, they all started out, to be honest, in their living room or their bedroom, in front of a mirror, in front of a microphone, in front of the family members or in front of their friends. And that's where you can start out too. Before we wrap up, is there any other key points that you want to bring up?
I think we've pretty much covered everything related to this. I think the mindset is going to be the number one thing that I would want to get people to actually take away from this. Don't make it about you. Make it about the other people, and just get it done. Get started. Do it the first time. If it's your passion, if you don't want to create a course, you don't care, you're just listening to this for other tips, that's fine. But if you've been thinking about helping people in a way of sharing your expertise and your gift, the number one thing is going to be put it on a calendar, schedule it. If you don't feel you have time, get up 30 minutes earlier every morning and make a routine to work on your course or your book for 30 minutes, and just get it done. Because if you don't, you're not going to help anybody, and you're going to one day look back and wish that you've done it, and you don't want to, like the musicians always say, don't die with your song inside of you. I think that this is basically the same thing. Don't die with your gift inside of you, and wish that one day wish that you would have actually done it. So take action, implement. I always say implementation is the difference between success and failure, and that's what I would probably leave everybody with. And
that's good. I want to add one more little thing, if I may, which is a little healing technique, a little breathing technique. If you're shy about getting in front of an audience or in front of the camera and recording this, just notice where the sensation is, where the tightness is. It could be in your throat, or often it's in your solar plexus stomach area. And just for, 20, 30 seconds, 30 seconds is good before you begin. Just close the eyes, just breathe into that area, send yourself a little love, and then just open your eyes and start talking and sending love to whoever the audience is as well is a good thing to do, because again, we're coming from service. We want to uplift people. We want to be generous to them, and then just say what you say. And these days, people don't care if there's, a tear in your jeans, all of that stuff. Whether whatever accent you have, whatever part of the world you're from, whether your wording is perfect or not, just allow people to find you who need what you're offering. Just let it happen, and don't you be the block. Mira, we want to mention your website where we want to send people.
Thank you so much for letting me do that. And I just want to basically, offer anyone who is serious about this and need some additional help. I'm doing more than one things, but I'm going to give you a website that you can go to. If this is before the end of October, if you're listening to this episode before the end of October, you can register for a Knowledge to Profit Summit, absolutely free. If it's after October, I'm just going to put some free gifts for our masterclass and our challenge on that page. So either way, no matter when you're listening to this, go to Knowledge, Profit Global Summit.com. Knowledge to Profit Global Summit.com. And David, if you can put in the show notes or
it'll be in the show notes.
Share it. Just make sure that instead of TO, there's number 2 between knowledge and profit. And the summit itself is just going to be assembly of experts in different fields, from sales to, how to craft your presentations, to how to create your courses, write your book, have it published with big publishers or self-publish it. So every aspect that you can think of that's related to turning your knowledge into profit will be covered by different experts in their fields. It's going to be super awesome. And, again, if I can be of any help, contact me through the same website, reach out to me, find me on social media. I'm always here and very happy to help to anyone that asks, because, if I can pay forward some of the expertise and help I've gotten from a lot of these people that I've met in the last 24 years, I'm always happy to do it.
All right, Mira, thank you so much. It's great to see you. We're not even going to get into the reinvention that you've had to do with your business since COVID happened, and I'm so glad that's going well for you. And more success to you. Thank you again, and maybe we'll have you back sometime in the future. But I think what you're putting together is great, and I encourage everybody to take advantage of it. So again, the website is Knowledge, 2, Profit, Global, globalsummit.com. Knowledge, 2, Profit, globalsummit.com. And I encourage everyone to take advantage of that. I know the type of people you're going to have, and it's going to be great. So good luck with that.
Thank you so much, David. And thanks for having me on the show. And hopefully a lot of people will get some help from some of the nuggets we've shared. And it was definitely a pleasure chatting with you. And thank you for having me.
All right. And that was fun. Okay. All right. And for those listening, for our audience, thank you for being here. We hope this helps save your day today. Remember to go to peaceandharmonyco.com and try the There's a sample there that you can try the Peace and Harmony program. You can look over and drool over the Peacemaker systems, and you can get yourself one or get yourself more than one. Be a hero to your neighborhood, to your community, to your city. Spread them around, tell people about them. And if you'd like to become an affiliate, that's there too. And we're looking to get lots of them all over because they help people, they reduce stress, they dissolve tension, all from the quantum level. You don't need to understand that to be able to use them. But also they help people think more clearly. So those in power and those like your bosses will make better decisions. The political leaders make better decisions, which is exactly what we've seen in businesses who have used these systems. So Mira, thank you again. We'll see you all next time or hear you all on the podcast. And here we come to save the day. So bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to another helpful, fun, and life-changing episode of Here We Come to Save the Day with David Adelson. To access the show notes and additional resources, go to herewecometosavetheday.com. If you've enjoyed the show and find it helpful and fun, please leave us a review and share with a friend. Tell us issues troubling you or questions you have. We're here to help you. That's what Here We Come to Save the Day is all about. Till next time.